All right, welcome to Big Time Basketball, the basketball segment of the Fantasy Fanatics Podcast. I'm your host once again, James, and I'm joined once again by Nate. What's up, man?
So
All right, today in the podcast, we'll just be talking about some of the Sunday games that happened in the NBA. We'll also be looking at some of the Monday games that have finished or that are still underway. And then we'll just sort of move into our fantasy pickups for fantasy basketball. We'll just talk about some news around the NBA, standings outlook, that kind of thing. And then we'll just move into previewing some of the Tuesday slate for the NBA. So let's just hop right into it, starting with the Sunday night games. And yeah, there was some good games here. We'll start with one here. The OKC Thunder beating the Memphis Grizzlies 128 to 122. This was a very surprising finish, in my opinion. I really assumed Memphis was coming in here looking to grab a victory, and OKC really surprised them.
yeah, it was a really clutch win by OKC. It's like basically a 6 point difference, so it was a pretty solid win. So good job to OKC.
Yeah, just looking at some of the stats here for the OKC Thunder, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 30 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. Just a stellar game for him. And then actually, this rookie here, I think you say his name, Alexei uh, Pokusevsky, something like that.
Yeah, that sounds right to me.
Alexei Pokusevsky, he had 23 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. So a full stat line for him. We'll be talking about him later, definitely in fantasy pickups. And then just looking at some of the other guys, Kenrick Williams had 17 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. So a solid game from him. And I guess just a solid game from this team overall in OKC. And then just looking at some of the stats from the Memphis Grizzlies, John Morant, 22 points, 1 rebound, 7 assists. Jonas Valanciunas, 16 points, 14 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals. So a solid game from him there. And then Dylan Brooks, 19 points, 1 rebound, 3 assists, 1 steal. Another solid stat line for him. Um, I don't know. What do you think, sort of this loss for the Grizzlies? This loss dropped them below 500, and I mean, I guess it's going to be tough for the Grizzlies to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, they're gonna have to at least get their 500 record back, which is gonna be pretty tough to do in the West. And they still weren't in the playoff spot with their 500 record, so they're gonna have to do even more than that now.
Yeah, it's just been so tough for them, and I mean, now OKC has the same amount of wins as them. So, I mean, is OKC turning it around as a team, or do you think they're just sort of playing spoiler to other teams and they don't really have a shot at anything?
I mean, it's pretty close, but I would say that OKC, they're still, I guess, like about five, I guess, like losses behind Dallas. They would have to like win five straight in order to catch up. So I would say that it's still kind of a tall order for them to try to make it into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think I'd have the same opinion as you in terms of the Thunder's chances of making the playoffs, but a great win from them overall. And just looking at the next game, there was a big upset in one of these Sunday games here. The Golden State Warriors beating the Utah Jazz by a score of 131 to 119. Big win for the Warriors. Um, I guess just looking at some of the stats here, Steph Curry, 32 points, 5 rebounds, 9 assists. And then Andrew Wiggins, 28 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals. Jordan Poole, 18 points, 3 assists. James Wiseman adding 16 points and 4 rebounds. I mean, this team just exploded. How do you think Golden State pulled this off?
Um, I mean, they were able to, I guess, shoot a lot of threes. I guess this is one of their games where things were just going their way. It was Steph Curry's birthday, so that might be a factor in it as well. But yeah, like you said, a lot of their key players they were performing well tonight. So congratulations to Golden State.
Yeah, and then just looking at the Utah side, I mean, offensively, they didn't play too bad. Rudy Gobert, 24 points, 28 rebounds, one assist, two steals, four blocks. So a big night for him. Donovan Mitchell, 24 points, four assists for him. And then Mike Conley, 23 points, two rebounds, six assists, one steal. So a solid game from him, as well as Jordan Clarkson adding 21 points and five rebounds, along with his two steals. So not a bad game from many of the big time players there in Utah, but I guess it just wasn't enough to topple Golden State.
Yeah, I guess this was just one of the nights where I guess once you have a hot hand and you're able to shoot a lot, it kind of snowballs really fast. So I guess that's just the nature of playing a team like the Warriors who are really good at shooting.
Yeah, and the Warriors had been slipping in their last 10, so it was sort of a must win game, and I guess they got it done.
Yeah, I think they're barely behind Dallas. So if they keep up their win streak, they might be able to catch up.
Yeah, and speaking of teams that are right near Dallas, the San Antonio Spurs just didn't get it done Sunday night. They lost to the Philadelphia 76ers 134 to 99. So big win for Philly. Philly just continues to pat their lead there in the East, and the Spurs are just hanging on sort of for dear life. They're in the West in the seventh seed. Just looking at some of Philadelphia's stats, Tobias Harris, 23 points, nine rebounds, seven assists, two steals, one block. So a big line for him. Seth Curry, 21 points, four rebounds, four assists. So a good game from him as well. Danny Green, 16 points and five rebounds to go along with his two blocks. And just another player that played well was Ben Simmons. He had a good line of 14 points, four rebounds, nine assists, one steal. So just some solid numbers there for the 76ers. And I guess with them being without Joel Embiid, they're still playing well.
Yeah, I mean, they're a fairly deep team. It was just that they had to figure out kind of who the offense was gonna run through, and when it runs through Embiid, they do well, but it doesn't just have to run through Embiid as we've seen.
Yeah, and I guess the Spurs were out with like one of their big players was out in DeMar DeRozan, and they just really couldn't get any offense done in this game. Just looking at some of the top point getters here, we had Derek White, 17 points, four rebounds, four assists, two steals, four blocks. So a big game for Derek White in the loss. DeJounte Murray, 14 points, six rebounds, two assists. Lonnie Walker, 15 points, as well as Keldon Johnson with 10 points and one assist. So just some solid stats for some of these players. But other than that, they really didn't get much offense from guys like Patty Mills, Rudy Gay. Jakob Pearl didn't really contribute double-digit numbers. So it was just very tough for them to sort of pull out the victory against this talented 76ers team. I mean, the Spurs have been slipping lately. If they don't get DeMar back, I guess do they have a chance of losing that playoff spot?
That's what it's looking like. I guess they really need somebody like DeMar to kind of not only score points, but he can set up plays for just for the rest of the team. So somebody's gonna need to either do one or the other, or possibly both. But it's looking for the for the time being, they're gonna be really missing Demar.
Yeah, and I guess speaking of another team that's missing one of their top players, Miami missing Adebayo. He's been out for a little bit, but they that didn't stop them. They got the job done there against Orlando Magic on Sunday night, beating them 102-97. Jimmy Butler, big line for him, 29.7 rebounds, nine assists, five steals, one block, so really solid. Kelly Olynyk, 18.7 rebounds, four assists, three steals, two blocks, so another huge line for him. Tyler Hero, 24 points, eight rebounds, three assists, one steal, one block. So big line for him, as well as Duncan Robinson with 14 points, five rebounds, three assists, and one steal. So just some big lines from some of these players there in Miami. I guess it's just an upward trend for these guys. They're now three games above 500, fourth in the East.
Wow, that's pretty impressive, especially considering where they started. they did have an injured team at the start of the season, so they've been having to play catch up for most of the season, but they've managed to do it.
Yeah, I mean they're 9-1 in their last 10. They've won 4 games in a row. They just continue to put teams away like it's nothing. And I mean this Orlando team, they did put up a fight. They did seem to have a good game here. I know Vucevic, 38 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals. Like he was just a monster out there, as well as Terrence Ross, 31 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. But then I guess outside of those two guys, you didn't get another player in double digit points. I guess Orlando really needs to look for spread out scoring among their team.
Yeah, it's really looking like Vucevic is kind of carrying a pretty heavy load in Orlando, and as impressive as it looks, he's gonna need some, I guess, extra players to kind of spread the load. He can't really do everything by himself.
I mean, let's not sleep on Terrence Ross. 31 points isn't too shabby himself. But yeah, other than that, I know they've been missing Aaron Gordon and they just haven't looked the same without him. And yeah, it really just outside of those guys, they don't really have those impact type players.
Yeah, it's like you said, they don't have nobody, but at the same time, they it's not quite enough to kind of match up with a team like the Heat.
Oh yeah, for sure. Miami just put on a show in this game and they came out with the win. And yeah, just I guess looking at the next game that was on the Sunday slate, we have the Atlanta Hawks beating the Cleveland Cavaliers 100-82. Solid game from the Hawks. Just some of the points and statistics here. We had John Collins, 22 points, 13 rebounds, 1 assist. So pretty solid from him. Danilo Gallinari, 20 points, 5 rebounds, 1 steal, 1 block. So big game for him as well. And then Trey Young, 14 points, 2 rebounds, 6 assists. So a good game from him. And Nathan Knight had 16 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists. So a big game from him as well. This team's just 1 game back from 500. They move into the 8th spot in the East. What do you think about the Hawks' sort of little run they've put on as of late?
I think it was pretty impressive. It was looking like they might not make it into the playoffs, but there's definitely a chance for them now.
Yeah, I guess since that coaching change, they've won 7 out of their last 10 and they've won 5 in a row. So that must have really had an impact.
Maybe that might be the case.
Yeah, and then just looking at Cleveland, we know they're going to miss the playoffs this year. The record drops to 14-24 after this game. Just some of the point getters here. Colin Sexton, 15 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. Jared Allen, 9 points, 11 rebounds, 1 block. Darius Garland, 11 points, 1 rebound, 7 assists. And C.D. Osman, 10 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. And I guess just other than that, they really didn't have a dominant player in this game. I mean, Kevin Love only took the floor for 1 minute, so he really couldn't put together much. I guess outside of that first shift that he had as a starter, Kevin Love didn't play the rest of the game. Do you think that he'll be able to get something done, or do you think that does he have an injury, or what's the case?
It's really hard to say because Kevin Love generally has injury problems. I know even when LeBron was there, they were trying to make sure that Kevin Love is as healthy as possible. But I guess he is getting older, so we'll have to see. There's no real way to tell right now.
Yeah, or maybe he might be part of some kind of trade package or something. Yeah, it's not really clear, like you said. But yeah, this Cleveland team, I guess, is just sort of looking to next year essentially.
Unfortunately, that's what it's looking like.
Yeah, and speaking of another team that's sort of looking forward to next year, man, Houston, they've just been a big disappointment this year. They lost to the Boston Celtics 134-107. And man, it just keeps getting worse and worse for the Rockets. They've lost their 16th game in a row. It's crazy how long this losing streak has gone. If you take it in, they were 11-11 before this winning streak. Or sorry, before this losing streak, they were 11-11. So they were still in the mix. Then they lose 16 in a row and they drop to 11-26. This is really not good. And I mean, they they really just can't play defense at this point. But offensively, they were decent. Victor Oladipo, 26 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. Kenyon Martin Jr., 21 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. And then Mason Jones, 14 points, 1 rebound, 3 assists. Kevin Porter Jr., 11 points, 2 rebounds, 7 assists. And offensively, they're not too bad. I know they were missing guys like Eric Gordon, Daniel House, Christian Wood, no John Wall here. They're just missing practically their whole team. Whether they're shutting them down or not remains to be seen. But yeah, it's been rough for Houston. And I guess that really played favorably into Boston getting the win here.
Yeah, it's just really depressing to see them have like a 15 game losing streak. I mean, hopefully they'll be able to snap their streak soon, like at least get like a couple of wins or something.
Yeah, hopefully they can do that. Boston has sort of turned things around since their stumble. In this game, Jaylen Brown, 24 points, 2 rebounds, 1 steal. Jason Tatum, 23 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and 1 steal for him. Kemba Walker, 16 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal. And Robert Williams, 16 points, 13 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 3 blocks. So a solid game for him as well. And yeah, it really looks like this Boston team is sort of finding their rhythm again. They've moved back up to fifth in the East, and I mean they've won 6 out of their last 10. So it seems like they've turned it around recently.
Yeah, it looks like they're going into their playoff form. They're about fifth in the East, like you said. That's about reasonable. I think that's what you can expect them to be going into the playoffs.
Yeah, they just really seem to be rounding into form. And just looking at some of the games here, there was another upset. We have the Minnesota Timberwolves beating the Portland Trailblazers by a score of 114 to 112. That was a big, surprising win for the Timberwolves, who are sitting at the bottom of the Western Conference. Yeah, Portland's sort of been slipping as of late. Just looking at some of the Portland scores, Damian Lillard, stellar as always, 38 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. Gary Trent Jr., 21 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals. Robert Covington, 19 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. And Carmelo Anthony, 16 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. Um, and yeah, I don't know what to say about this game other than Portland. They lost by 2 points.
I mean, it was an impressive game by Anthony Edwards since he did have 34 points. I mean, first he got that crazy dunk earlier in the season against Utah Watanabe, and then now he's doing this. So it'll be interesting to see if he can kind of keep up this momentum.
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, he had 34 points. He also added 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal to that. I mean, he just had a really solid game. Carl Anthony Towns, 13 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. Ricky Rubio, 15 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists. And Jalen Nowell, 14 rebounds, 14 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal for him. So, I mean, they had guys put up points around him. It was mostly Anthony Davis, but he did have a supporting cast in this game. And I think he really just sort of pushed this team ahead. And I think there are big things for Minnesota in their future.
Yeah, I think this is showing that Carl Anthony Towns doesn't need to put on a crazy scoring game every night just for Minnesota to kind of stay competitive. I mean, they are still near the bottom of the standings, so they're probably not going to be looking like they're at playoff contention this season, but maybe next season or the season after, we might see some progress.
Yeah, for sure. They definitely need to add some pieces around both Anthony Towns and Edwards. And I guess just speaking of teams that really need to add some pieces, or they were missing pieces, actually, the Toronto Raptors, they've lost their fifth game in a row. It's really getting ridiculous at this point. I know they have guys out for COVID, but they were a 500 team before losing those five in a row. Now they're 17-22 on the year. Um, Chicago really trying to move up there in the East. They move ahead of the Raptors with this win. Just looking at some of the Chicago scorers, Patrick Williams, 23 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. So a big game for him. Zach LaVine, 15 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 block. So another big game for Zach LaVine. Kobe White, 13 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists for him. And Lauri Markkanen, 13.7 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block for him. So some big games from some of their big players. Um, and then the Raptors being without their big players. I mean, I assume that as a Raptors fan, this is pretty hard to watch for you.
Yeah, I'm used to the Raptors being able to kind of come back and get some hard fought victories at least, if not just outright win, even without their starting players. I mean, one of the things that Raptors fans are kind of proud of is that the Raptors are supposed to be a team with a lot of depth, and there's a lot of players off the bench who are normally able to score and kind of keep up even with other team starters. But it looks like tonight or the that night wasn't the night for that.
Yeah, just looking at some of the stats here for the Raptors, Norman Powell, big game for him, 32 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. So he played really well in the loss. Kyle Lowry, 20 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists, 1 steal. So a big game from him. And then Chris Boucher adding 17 points, 4 rebounds, 1 steal, 1 block. So Boucher was solid as well. And I guess just looking here at some of the minutes that some of these Raptors players played, Chris Boucher didn't even reach the 30-minute mark. Do you think they're still limiting his minutes?
That's what it's kind of looking like to me a little bit. I feel like he should be playing close to 36 minutes, at least until Siakam and Van Fleet come back, because he's like one of their best players right now, and you just need to have your best players going forward.
Yeah, I mean, the guy, he did a reasonable job with the minutes he's been given. And I think that, I guess the more that he does, the more minutes he should be given. So, yeah, I guess if the Raptors management or coaching staff is listening, get Boucher out there. Free hashtag free Boucher.
That's what it's really looking like because they had like Henry Ellenson there. I think he had 20 minutes, and like I don't want to like hate on him, but like I feel like he
He's
should
not
have gotten
Boucher.
like yeah, he's not Boucher.
He's not Boucher.
He should have gotten like maybe 15 minutes, and then could have had like at least like 31 or something this game.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And just looking at the last game on the Sunday slate, another upset. Well, it's full of upsets on this Sunday slate. The New Orleans Pelicans beating the LA Clippers, a 135-115, so a big win there. Just looking at some of the stats from some of the Pelicans, Zion Williamson, 27 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists, so big game for him. Brandon Ingram, 23 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. Lonzo Ball, 20 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, so a big game for him as well. And then Jackson Hayes added 17 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, and 1 block for him. So just a solid game overall for the Pelicans. I know last Big Time Basketball podcast, he said it was too little, too late for this Pelicans team. I mean, at 17-22, they are ahead of some teams there in the West. Is that still the case, being 3 spots out of the playoffs, or do you think they still have a chance?
Um, it's kind of hard to say, especially with Golden State and Dallas. Their record is pretty much the same as OKC though. So it's kind of like similar situation. They probably have to go on a 5 game winning streak in the West in order to be able to catch up.
Yeah, and they've just been so inconsistent as of late. The Pelicans have gone 5-5 in their last 10. So not the kind of numbers we want to see from a team that's trying to make the playoffs. But a team that's sort of firmly in a playoff spot in the Clippers. I mean, they did have a decent game. Kawhi Leonard, 23 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals for him. Reggie Jackson adding 18 points, 1 rebound, 2 assists. Paul George adding 15 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and 1 steal. And then Luke Kennard adding 15 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, and 1 steal for this team. I mean, they didn't really play bad, but I feel like they could have been a little bit more dominant in this game against the Pelicans.
Yeah, it feels like they could have done a little bit more for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, the Clippers are sort of right there in the mix. They're in the West, being in fourth position. They don't really have a lot to worry about, but I mean, they have been struggling. They've only won 4 out of their last 10. Should they be pushing a panic button there in LA, or what do you think about that?
I'm not necessarily certain about a panic button, especially considering Serge Ibaka. I think he did get hurt during the game. Um, there is a Clippers game going on right now, but he's out right now with like a kind of like a back injury.
Yeah, it looks
So
like he only
there,
played 8 minutes in the Sunday game. So
yeah, so there may be a bit of a slip, but as long as Serge Ibaka isn't too banged up and he can come back, I don't think they should expect anything too serious.
yeah, and sort of speaking of the games going on right now, let's head to Monday's slate. We do have some final games here. The Charlotte Hornets beating the Sacramento Kings 122-116. Just taking a look at some of the stats here for Charlotte. Gordon Hayward, 25 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals. So a monster line for him. Terry Rozier, 26 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists for him. LaMelo Ball, 16 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal. So another big game for LaMelo. And yeah, this team is just playing really well. Even Devontae Graham threw in 12 points there to go with his rebound and 4 assists. So um, yeah, this Hornets team keeps winning. They're sixth in the East. What do you think about that?
That's really impressive. It looks like they're this team is this is the best Hornets team in a really long time. So
Yeah, they look great with those jerseys too. I guess MJ must be really excited about this team.
yeah, all the years of him being an owner of Charlotte, before when they were the Bobcats, they were one of the worst teams in the league, and they've slowly gotten better.
Yeah, for sure. And they beat a pretty decent Sacramento team. I mean, they sort of been a disappointment this year, but stat wise, they were pretty good here. De'Aaron Fox, 29 points, 4 rebounds, 8 assists. Buddy Hield, 23 points, 3 rebounds, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals for him. And Rayshawn Holmes, 17 points, 15 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, 4 blocks. So a big monster game for Holmes. He played over 40 minutes in this game. I think that they really need to get some help there at center for Holmes if he's going to be playing practically the whole game for them. I know we talked about this with the Kings before, how they don't know how to rest their starters. They're just overplaying them, I feel like.
Yeah, you can kind of see the starting five has like insane amount of minutes. And then like maybe two people off the bench have like some decent minutes and everybody else is just sitting there all game. So that's uh not good for the health of the players. If you give them too many minutes, there is a possibility that they can get injured. So I think that's something to kind of think about for them.
Yeah, their players just don't seem rested at all during the game, which is why they always seem to be losing late. Like they were up in this game, and then they just let Charlotte score 11 more points than them in the fourth quarter. Like that's just unacceptable at this point.
Yeah, but it's like you said, like when your players aren't rested, they're gonna get gassed in the fourth.
Yeah, and I guess just sort of speaking of the fourth quarter, I know in this game Washington tried to make a fourth quarter comeback, but ultimately they couldn't. losing to the Milwaukee Bucks 133 to 122. They did have a good fourth quarter though with 33 points. Just sort of looking at the Wizards stat lines here. I've got Bradley Beal, who always seems to pop off in Wizards losses. 37 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. Russell Westbrook, 23 points, 5 rebounds, 17 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. So big game for him. Rui Hachimura, 22.7 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal for him. And yeah, other than that, there really wasn't much from this team. Um, I guess they're being 13 in the East. It's pretty much over for Washington at this point.
Unfortunately, that's what it looks like.
And then just looking at Milwaukee, this was pretty much a game that they came in knowing they were going to win, and then they just went in and got it done. Giannis Antetokounmpo with the triple double, 31 points, 15 rebounds, 10 assists, 3 steals, 1 block. So big game for him tonight. Um, and then Chris Middleton, 23 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal. Solid game for him. Brook Lopez, 22 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 4 blocks. Insane game for Brook Lopez. Drew Holiday, 15.6 rebounds, 4 assists. So not too shabby from him as well. And I mean, this Brooklyn team, are people sleeping on this team? Are they better than advertised?
Sorry, you mean the
Oh, sorry,
Milwaukee
not
team?
Brooklyn. This Milwaukee team, my bad.
Oh yeah. I mean, they're still playoff contenders in my opinion. I know Brooklyn and Philadelphia, they are the two favorites, but Milwaukee still has a chance in my opinion.
Yeah, I guess it just really depends if their bench can sort of give them what they need to sort of I guess just get through the playoffs. They're really relying on guys like DJ Augustin, Bobby Portis, Baron Forbes, and some of these guys to really, I guess, just give them the boost there off the bench.
Yeah, I think that's like the thing that's kind of separating them from Brooklyn and Philadelphia is just how deep their bench can go. I'd say like after Brian Forbes, it's gonna be kind of tough if it goes past that for them to kind of keep up.
Yeah, for sure. And just looking at some of the games that are still underway on this Monday slate, the San Antonio Spurs are up on the Detroit Pistons in the fourth quarter. So I guess we'll just keep an eye on that. The Brooklyn Nets are up on the New York Knicks here in the fourth quarter as well. At halftime, the LA Clippers are up on the Dallas Mavericks. And then games just getting underway. The Indiana Pacers at the Denver Nuggets, the Memphis Grizzlies at the Phoenix Suns, and the LA Lakers at the Golden State Warriors. So, some big games there. I guess we'll just see how those games shape out.
Yeah, hopefully there'll be some good games.
All right, let's just move into some fantasy basketball pickups at this point. So I'll start with you. Just give me a couple of your pickups, and I'll give you a couple of mine, and then you can finish yours off, and then I'll finish mine off. How does that sound?
Sounds good. I guess I'll start my first pick with Avika Zubac. He's ranked 91 right now. He's averaging 8.1 points, 6.9 rebounds, and 1.1 assists. He didn't have uh too good of a game against the Pelicans, but I believe that this schedule is going to be pretty favorable for Avika Zubac, especially depending on how many minutes that Ibaka is going to get and how his injury situation is going to work out. So I think you uh, should be able to take a look at him, and he should be able to have some decent production for you this week. And I guess my second pick would be Dorian Finney Smith. Um, so far, he's getting 8.2 points, 5.4 rebounds, and 1.4 assists. Um, he's had a lot of games where he's had a decent amount of rebounds. There was a game in Denver where he had 8. There was a game in OKC where he had 8. and he had 7 against San Antonio as well. So that's looking like where that's a lot of his value is coming from. But he can occasionally get some assists, some points for you as well. So I recommend you taking a look at him in deep leagues. And my third pick is Jalen Brunson. Um, he's averaging 12.9 points, 3.5 rebounds, and 3.4 assists. He's 30% rostered right now, so I think he's a good shallow league pick. He gets a good amount of points. He gets double digit points almost every game. Gets a decent amount of rebounds for like a point guard, shooting guard. He gets a decent amount of assists. He gets some steals. His field goal percentage is good. His free throw percentage is good. And he gets a decent amount of minutes. So I don't see a reason to really take a pass on him. So those are three of my picks.
Yeah, for sure. Sound like some good picks. Just looking at a couple of mine. I do have Dwight Howard here. I know you talked about him a bit last week, but with Joel Embiid out for who knows how long, Dwight Howard's a must add. He's most likely going to be a starter in this Philadelphia offense. And I mean, he has been producing. I mean, he's put up some good totals, I'd say, in his last 5 games, especially, just being very efficient. In a place where he isn't normally at the free throw line. He has been pretty decent recently. He's low on turnovers, and he's almost at double digit rebounds every game. So just a solid player overall. He's been added over 5% in the last week. He's around 30% rostered in Yahoo leagues, so definitely someone that should be added while Embiid is out. And then I guess another player who's sort of covering for injuries and I guess just players sitting out would be KJ Martin Jr. from the Houston Rockets. He plays small forward. Um, right after the All-Star break, I mean, he's been getting like an average of 30 minutes every game. He's put up at least 13 points per game. He's averaged close to 20. He's put up close to 10 rebounds every game. So really solid. He's added about a couple assists per game. He has about a couple steals per game as well. And he's had an average of around 1.5 blocks per game. So, I mean, he's just been really solid in almost every category. I know his free throw has been very inconsistent, but other than that, he should be really solid. And I mean, he's been added over 15% in the last week, around 35% owned in Yahoo leagues. So he's definitely someone that you should be taking a look at, whether in shallow or deep leagues. And I'll give it back to you for the rest of your picks.
Sure. So I guess I've got a few picks that I would definitely recommend, and then I've got a couple of reach picks that maybe you might want to take a chance on, but there's no guarantee that they'll do good. I'll talk about Patrick Williams first. He's a deep league pick, but he is trending a little bit. 17% rostered, +1 last day. He's averaging 10.2 points, 4.7 rebounds, and 1.3 assists. His last game against Toronto, he went off and he got 23.6 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. So, really good stat line. He gets a decent amount of minutes every game. He gets at least 1 3 almost every game. His points have been in the double digits most games. He gets a decent amount of rebounds, decent amount of assists. He can basically fill multiple categories for you, and he's eligible at small forward and power forward. So again, if you're in a deep league, you should definitely take a look at him. If you're in a shallow league, maybe you can put him on a watch list. And if you have like a small forward or a power forward who's injured, maybe you can kind of pick him up until your main guy comes back. And I guess next I'll talk about Isaiah Roby. Um, he's about 8% rostered right now. He's averaging 8.7 points, 5.4 rebounds, and 1.8 assists. Um, his situation is similar to Zubac's. This schedule that they have this week for OKC looks like it's going to be favorable for their center position and for their, I guess, power forward position as well. So you should see kind of an increase in production this week from Isaiah Roby. Um, I think in his game against Memphis, he got 10 points, 8 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 2 blocks. So pretty impressive. So you might see something similar, maybe not exactly the same, but again, something similar. So I think if you're in a deep league, you should definitely take a look at him. And I guess I'll talk about two reach picks that like maybe you might want to take a look at them, maybe not. It's kind of like a risk. So I'll talk about Ty Jerome first for OKC. Um, so far he's gotten 9.9 points, 4 rebounds, 3.4 assists. He's been playing a lot of minutes lately, and he occasionally gets games where he gets double digits in points, and he gets a decent amount of rebounds, decent amount of assists. Sometimes he can get some steals for you too. Some, I guess most of his value comes in being able to shoot the three. He's had a lot of games where he shoots two or more. I guess like 2 to 3 threes. So if you're in a deep league, he's a player that you might be able to kind of take a chance on this week. And I guess my last pick, which is also a reach pick, is Mike Muscala. For the most part, he doesn't really have a lot of value in fantasy, but if for some reason you're kind of desperate and you need somebody and you seem to like him, this week's pretty much one of the only weeks where he would have a chance at having any value. So I guess just put him on a watch list for now and see how he does, and then maybe later in the week, if he's doing well and you have somebody who's injured in a deep league, you might be able to pick him up for a bit until your main guy comes back. So I guess those are all the guys that I have.
All right, sounds good. I'll just get to the rest of my picks. I have Kelly Olynyk here from the Miami Heat. He plays power forward slash center. He's around 45% roster in Yahoo leagues. He's been added around 5% in the last week, so he has been trending upwards. He has a rank of 68, so pretty solid over the year. His free throw has just been solid. I know his field goals sort of been wavering, but it has been getting better. It's been around 0.600 recently, so that's good for a big. He's been averaging around 18 points per game. I'd say in his last 4 games, he's been averaging close to 10 rebounds. He's been averaging around 4 assists, so also pretty solid. He's also added a 1 or 2 steals per game as well, and he's pretty much been pretty low on turnovers. He'll also have a block here and there, so seems to be chipping in every category. So if you're looking sort of for a guy, maybe a big that will cover a lot of categories, he'd probably be someone you could look at. And then also just looking at this player from the OKC Thunder we talked about earlier, Alexei Pokusevsky. I think is how you pronounce his name. He's around 20% rostered in Yahoo leagues, and that was all over the last day. He was added that 20%, so he's really trending upwards. Um, I'd say in the 3 games since the All Star break, he's had over 30 minutes in every single game. In his last game, he had 5 threes, perfect free throw, 53% field goal. He had 23 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block. So just crazy numbers. And if he's getting over 30 minutes a night, he'll be getting numbers close to that. So he's definitely someone that you need to hop on in fantasy. And then just sort of one more pickup I have is Jordan Poole, guard for the Golden State Warriors. He might be more of a deep league pickup. He's only around 11% rostered. He was added close to that in the last 24 hours. So definitely someone to monitor. I guess sort of since the All Star break, he's averaged around 20 points. He's averaged around 3 rebounds, averaged around 3 assists per game. I mean, he'll throw steals and blocks here and there. He's had a great free throw and a decent field goal as well, close to 60%. So it definitely seems like he's trending in the right direction. I believe that Coach Kerr wants him to start closing games, so that would open up an opportunity for him to get more minutes. So more minutes is always good when it comes to picking up players on the waiver wire.
Sounds good.
All right, let's just move into sort of our general NBA talk in terms of news. I guess just sort of taking a look at the Eastern Conference standings as we speak, here in the NBA. Philadelphia 76ers, they've won 5 games in a row, 8 out of their last 10. They're in first place still. The Brooklyn Nets, they've won 9 out of their last 10. They're followed by the Milwaukee Bucks, who've also won 9 out of their last 10, and the Miami Heat, who have also won 9 out of their last 10. So four really hot teams, 5 and 6, pretty hot teams, seven, which is the Knicks, also a pretty hot team. All of these teams in the top seven. Actually, you could even go to number 8 when the Atlanta Hawks, the top 8 in the Eastern Conference, have all won 6 or more in their last 10. So is the East really trending up? Are all the playoff teams going to have solid records this year?
I mean, it's possible this might be a situation in which I guess you can say that the East is stronger than, I wouldn't say like previous years, but stronger than expected, I guess would be the word I would say.
And then just sort of looking at the bottom sort of section of the East, all of these teams have lost 3 or more games. Raptors losing 5 in a row, Cavaliers losing 3 in a row, Wizards losing 4 in a row, Magic losing 8 in a row, and the Pistons losing 3 in a row. And then one of their only wins was over the Raptors. So, I mean, it's not like they really did themselves any good there. Yeah, what do you think about that bottom section of the East that includes your Raptors?
Well, I'm kind of depressed that the words Raptors and bottom section are together in a sentence. So there's that.
Yeah, it must be really tough. I mean, I think they will try and make a run when Van Vliet, Siakam, and company come back. But I mean, is there a chance it might be too little, too late?
It's gonna be tough, that's for sure. They're already 2 games behind, and if their losing streak continues, it might actually end up being too late. Especially when you see that the Hawks have 20 losses and they're eighth right now. So this every game from now on is pretty much must win.
Yeah, for sure. You can definitely say that. And then just moving into the Western Conference, even though Utah has had a rough last 10, they've only won 5 out of their last 10, including losing to the Golden State Warriors on Sunday night. They still are solidly in first in the West, followed by the Phoenix Suns, who have won 8 out of their last 10. Very solid. The LA Lakers and the LA Clippers, who have dropped 6 out of their last 10, so they aren't trending in the right direction. Then you got the Nuggets, who've sort of been on fire. They've won 7 out of their last 10. They're in fifth. Then you got Portland, who's sort of been struggling a little bit. They're in sixth, as well as the Spurs in seventh. Then you got a hot Dallas Mavericks team in eighth. And you got a Golden State team that sort of is trying to turn it around there. They're in ninth. And then a Memphis team that isn't really that far out. They're about 3 games out from Dallas. They're at 10th with a 17-18 record. So I guess just sort of looking at that top end of the Western Conference. Is it a 3 team battle? Is it a 4 team battle? Is it a 2 team battle? Right there on the bubble section, which teams would you say are right on that bubble of getting into the playoffs and missing?
Right on the bubble, I would say it's kind of maybe a three team battle between Dallas, Golden State, and Memphis. Uh, New Orleans and OKC, they have a long road ahead of them if they're gonna try to make a playoff push. So I'm not really counting on them to make the playoffs this season. But I think Memphis does still have a chance when you take into account that they only have 18 losses so far. So if they're able to kind of stop the bleed, they might be able to make it back in. And the Warriors are over 500, so that's always a good sign as well.
Yeah, and then I guess just for the Spurs, they really need DeRozan back if they want to keep that playoff spot. I think that's why I mentioned a 4 team race, because if DeRozan isn't with the team for an extended period of time, that could really hurt the Spurs' chances of keeping their playoff spot.
Yeah, that's another factor to take into account as well. They do have I think 16 losses, but that's gonna go really fast if you keep burning all your losses, especially if you go on like a big losing streak.
Yeah, I mean, they have been pretty mediocre, winning 5 out of their last 10. They really need to turn that around if they want to keep their playoff spot. Because teams trying to get in are going to get hot. We know that. We see it every year. We saw it with teams like Phoenix and Portland last year in the West. So, I mean, if a team like Golden State or Memphis gets hot, the Spurs could be on the outside looking in before they know it.
Yeah, this is like it's like as much as it is a must win for the teams just outside, it's a must win for them as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely just going to be a tough road heading into the playoffs for all those teams in that bubble area. So I guess we'll just have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, and then let's just move into sort of the preview for the Tuesday game slate. There's a decent amount of games here on the slate. Just starting with the first one here, we have the Utah Jazz at the Boston Celtics. Obviously, we talked about Utah losing to Golden State, and then we talked about Boston winning their game. The spread right now, Utah is favored at around 5 points. Do you think that Utah is going to bounce back here, or do you think Boston has a chance to win this game?
Um, I think there's a chance for both teams, but I think that the Jazz are a little bit stronger on the 5 spot in Rudy Gobert, so there is a chance that he might have an increase in production to kind of take them over the Celtics.
Yeah, I think this is sort of a big bounce back spot for the Jazz. I think they can win by five or more points over the Boston Celtics. I think definitely that's an opportunity to hammer that. And then just looking at the second game here, the Atlanta Hawks at the Houston Rockets. We don't have the spread yet for this game, but I assume it's going to be at least a 10-point spread between the two teams. If it is around 10 points, I assume the Hawks should be able to cover, or do you think Houston will make it close?
Um, I would still say that the Hawks should be able to cover. I'm not really expecting the Rockets to keep it close. I mean, they'll try for sure, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think this Hawks team's really in rhythm. They definitely should get it done. Speaking of another team in rhythm, we got the Miami Heat facing the Cleveland Cavaliers. I know Miami should win this one. We don't have a spread as of yet. Um, I think if the spread is maybe around 8.5 points, even above that, do you think Miami can sort of cover that, or do you think this game might be close?
I think in their last meeting, it was pretty close, but Miami was injured earlier in the season, so we might end up seeing kind of a larger gap in the points this game.
Yeah, I think that definitely Miami's just been playing some of the best basketball of this season. So I think they can definitely do some damage there. Um, and speaking of another big matchup here, we got the Philadelphia 76ers facing the New York Knicks. Um, I guess just sort of taking a look at some of the scores from Monday night. I know we said that the game wasn't done. The Knicks have, as we speak, are trying to make a comeback in the fourth quarter. They are still down. They are keeping it close with Brooklyn, which is sort of what I expected heading into this game. So I guess I'll assume that the Knicks could keep it close with the 76ers as well.
Yeah, especially with Joel Embiid still injured, and we don't really completely know his situation so far. This is pretty much the chance to take it to the 76ers.
Do you think the Knicks can pull off a win here?
Um, I don't know if they can pull off a win, but I think they can keep it close.
Okay, so we don't have a spread, so yeah, I guess we'll just say the Knicks will be able to keep it close. But I guess yeah, we're not sure if the Knicks will necessarily come out on top. And then just moving on to the next game, we have the OKC Thunder at the Chicago Bulls. Um, just looking sort of at the spread for this game, it is a 5 point spread favoring the Chicago Bulls. Do you see the Bulls winning this game? And if you do, by at least 5 points, do you see them winning?
Hmm. Uh, maybe. I guess you could say that they'd be able to win by 5 points.
Yeah, Chicago has been playing pretty well as of late. They're definitely trying to get into that last playoff spot in the East. OKC, I guess, is just playing for their pride at this point. Chicago does look like a good pick, definitely. I guess we'll just keep an eye if that spread sort of moves around a little bit. But as of right now, yeah, I think I'm also liking Chicago at -5. And then another game where we don't have a spread yet is the New Orleans Pelicans at the Portland Trail Blazers. I know the Pelicans, so we talked about them trying to make the playoffs, sort of trying to get on a run. And then Portland, they've sort of been a mediocre as of late. Who do you see taking this game?
Um, I think I think it's gonna be another close game. Um, they do have Zion, who's really good at the power forwards spot. So they're gonna need to find a way to kind of slow him down if they want any chance of winning the Portland Trailblazers.
Yeah, I think the Pelicans have been playing well. That would be a pretty smart pick. I like the Pelicans in this game. I guess just sort of looking at just some of the games in the past. I know we definitely talked about how the Pelicans played really well in their last game, and how Portland they lost a nail biter there. So I definitely expect it to be close. Who takes the game? I like the Pelicans here, but I guess we'll just see how this game plays out.
Yeah, it's definitely doable for the Pelicans. I think their last game they did win by about 1 point, I think. Or did they? No, it was
No,
lost.
Portland lost by 2, and then the Pelicans they won. I believe Sunday they played and they won.
Oh, right,
We
yeah.
covered it in the Sunday slate. So yeah, definitely it's doable for the Pelicans. And the last game on the slate, we had the Minnesota Timberwolves at the LA Lakers. The Lakers are favored by 9 points. I think the Lakers can cover this. What do you think? Do you think the Timberwolves will make it close?
I think the Lakers should be able to cover this. The Timberwolves are pretty hot right now, so they're definitely gonna try to do something.
Oh, it's
But
going to be tough though, because they don't have anyone really to defend Carl Anthony Towns there in the paint.
yeah, Anthony Davis is out, so there is a chance
It
that
might
they
be
can keep it
close.
close.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're right. And also, the Lakers are playing Monday night, so they might be tired. I
yeah,
think that there's definitely an opportunity to find value here with the Timberwolves at plus 9 points. Yeah, I actually didn't think about that. Yeah, the Lakers are playing as we speak. So, yeah, this line might move around a little bit after this game. So, I guess just keep an eye on that. But yeah, at the current slate, I guess just the way it's looking, I'm definitely liking the Minnesota Timberwolves at +9 against the Lakers. But I guess we'll just have to see how the Lakers play on Monday's game, and then just sort of look for how they're going to play on Tuesday night.
yeah, for sure.
All right. That's the end of Big Time Basketball from the Fantasy Fanatics Podcast. Nate, thanks for your time as always. And we have a Fanatics football episode coming midweek, and an Everything NHL episode at the end of the week. And we'll talk to you guys next time on the next episode for Big Time Basketball.